We're gonna pile them.
All right, we're all set.
We're all set. Welcome, everyone, to the Town Planning Board meeting. We got feedback.
Those things look almost human. They've got the eyes rolling around at you.
They do. Welcome to the November 22nd edition of the Town Planning Board meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for last meeting of November 8th.
Second.
Motion made by Richard, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried unanimous. The first item on our agenda tonight after the minutes is Keplinger Freeman Associates. This is with regard to a site plan and subdivision for a new dental office located at 8195 Casanova Road, Manlius. This is scheduled this evening for a public hearing. Is there anything the applicant wanted to cover before the public hearing?
If you'd like us to do an overview for the public hearing, I can do that, just a general. Or if you don't need to hear that, that's fine.
I think we've heard it a few times already.
That's what I figured.
So why don't we hold off on that unless the public does have additional questions on that. Then prior to entertaining a motion for public hearing, I would ask that we go through seeker.
Okay, so this is part 2 environmental assessment form and the following questions. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
Minimal.
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or damage or drainage problems?
No or minimal.
Yeah, minimal.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resource or human health?
No.
Having answered all of the questions as no or minimal impact, a negative secret declaration can be issued.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that. We second negative secret.
Motion by Arnie, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, negative declaration. In light of that, we would now entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Can we have some,
I'll make that motion.
can we have some questions?
Of course you can.
Of course. Yeah.
You're public.
No, before we go into public, Doug, there was some discussion about additional retainage on the site. I don't know where that went, if there's feedback, if you could just explain what took place.
Sure, there was a request from the town board to see if the applicant would increase their on-site stormwater storage. So I did speak with Ed Keplinger. He said he would talk to the applicant get back to us on that. So I'm still waiting to hear back. What transpired for that.
Okay, and the question you and I discussed was whether or not that site was in an existing drainage district.
Yes, it appears that Scholastic Sports is in drainage district number 3.
Okay, so if there is some additional expense, that drainage district would pay for it, I'm presuming.
My understanding was that the town board would pay for the increase above and beyond what was proposed in the original script. That's what I conveyed along the head. So
We can address that. Basically, there is possibility for additional capacity within the system as designed. As long as our client doesn't have to pay the increased cost, we'd be happy to, entertain that. Probably, after we go through this approval process.
Okay. But since it's in a drainage district, they would pay for that, whatever the additional cost is. If that's what if the town board wants to do that.
my understanding is that the town board would pay for that delta. So what was in the original SWIFT, which they have sent to us, above and beyond that, the town would pay for that. There would be no additional cost to the applicant.
But I just want to get, so that we all understand the clarification here. The town wouldn't pay for it, it's the drainage district that should pay for that. And I'm not,
I don't know, the way that it was expressed to me was that the town would pay for it.
Okay.
So I don't know where that would go.
I guess I'll toss-
the first step would be to see what the applicant sends here, and then
I'll toss that back to you.
Yeah,
Jamie.
that's my understanding. It's the town that's going to pay for it. That's my
Town
understanding.
can't pay for it,
So in whatever method they can, but they're,
but
they're
the
the
town
ones that-
can't take pocket money and pay for private improvements.
there is, unless it is a benefit to the town.
And in this case, the drainage would be additional to above and beyond what would normally be required. And therefore it would be, the town must be asking for it as it is a benefit to the town.
Correct.
But if it's in the drainage district, that district should pay for it, not the
Well,
town.
We can argue about that. I'm not sure, but I do know that the town can pay for it. When they can have, if there's something on private property that is a benefit to the public, then the town can pay for it.
Wow, I got some trees that I want to get knocked down.
Is it for public benefit? Public
Okay,
benefit?
all right. I want
Yeah.
to, okay,
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Public benefit.
all right.
We're not knocking
Very
down
limited.
trees.
Pardon?
We're not knocking trees down.
Well, I mean, there's drainage that would be benefited from those trees. not being there. Okay.
Madam Secretary, did we in fact publish a notice relative to this public hearing?
Yes, we did.
And I would entertain a
So
motion
moved.
for waiver
Wait.
by Michael Rowe,
Second.
second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The notice is hereby waived. The reading of the notice is hereby waived. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Fred, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is hereby opened. If there's anyone here present in the room or through
Zoom.
Zoom,
Just
Please.
use the raise your hand function if you are participating via Zoom. We have one. Do you want them to talk?
yes,
Do you want me to move them into the meeting so you can see them
I
or?
think that would be beneficial.
Okay. Give it a second,
Want me to stop the share screen function?
please.
Did I hit the right button? Yeah, I see my name there.
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay. I did get the notice in the mail and I felt important for me to participate. I couldn't personally come there tonight, but as noted on the site plans, I live adjacent to the proposed site in Verbeck, on Verbeck Drive. I've lived there pretty close to 25 years, so fairly long-standing resident. I just had a few points or comments that I'd like to be in consideration, and more than happy to put it all in writing and submit it as well. So I'm certainly not against the proposed property, but I just like to have a few things considered in terms of its development. Obviously, Dr. Moore built the building right behind me, as well as the funeral home, which is fairly close by. So, it's nothing new to have, some properties developed, but there can be an impact on my property on certain situations. So one thing I'm assuming is a orthodontic office. The business hours are generally pretty light as far as weekday hours and limited or no weekend hours. If I'm incorrect, correct me, but same with Dr. Moore or whoever the dentist is behind me. So it's not really an impact such as another commercial property, and clearly a funeral home is lightly used. The thing that I'm interested in is the sight line to my property in terms of vehicles pulling in. The lights, the exterior lights or interior lights on the building, particularly this time of year where there's not a lot of foliage, it is noticeable to get headlights pulling in or, building lights, there that weren't there before. So, if some consideration, particularly, it looked like on the plan, there was a turnaround or a rear parking area. If there could be consideration or even along the back of the whole property, some sort of buffer, fencing or a buffer to sort of protect my view, I guess, or, accommodate my privacy. I would appreciate that. The other thing with regard to that, I know trash, I didn't see on the plans where a trash service would be or potential dumpster. Is that something that was brought up?
I don't recall it having been brought up.
Trash will be inside the building, rather minimal.
Could you answer that a little louder so we can all hear?
Sure. As I understand it, the trash will be taken care of inside the building. It's rather minimal, and some of it is medical waste that has to be treated differently. Doctor is here, and he could probably speak directly to that as
Well, I
well.
think the big question would be, is there going to be any exterior or outside dumpster?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
I think that would answer the question then.
Yeah, that answers. I know the dental office right behind us actually has 2 dumpsters, and at 4:30 in the morning, it's can be a bit of a distraction.
And
So
I'll ask
that's
the town- I'm just going to ask the town engineer, from the plans that I saw, I don't recall there being any exterior light spillover. Doug, would there be?
No, there was a photometric included with 0-foot cameras at the property line. Actually, it looked like in some locations it was a little bit more inward, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we're talking in terms of no lighting spillover. And the car lights, the only time I think you'd see the car lights is right around 5 o'clock on a really dark day like today, when they're leaving the building.
okay. That's understood. Yeah, I probably if there were exterior lights, that'd be more of a nighttime issue than any vehicles, certainly. I guess I apologize if I'm repetitive with something from a previous meeting, but how much foliage or trees are going to be removed from the rear of the building for the site preparation?
Vegetation is just gonna be removed to the extent that we need to build. So as much as we can leave, and I was just trying to look at the plan, we are, looks like a little bit close on one side, but there's pretty much a 10-foot buffer, looks like all the way along that whole west property line. And if need be, excuse me, when we're all done, we could add, a tree, but we're keeping as much of the vegetative buffer as we can keep on that west property line.
Okay, there's no going to be massive clearing of the plants.
No, just to build. It's pretty much the extent of the grading limits, that's the clearing limit.
Normally within the building envelope.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sir, I hope that answers your questions unless you have more.
Yeah, it's the last comment. I was listening to the closing information you had on the drainage. That is something that we're particularly sensitive with. So I understand, it sounds like the studies were done and so forth. The drainage through our property into the existing dentist's office can be quite significant during the storms. So I guess that's, provided any mitigation or studies have been done, that's most appreciated.
They did provide us with a stormwater prevention plan, SWIP, and that all appeared to be satisfactory, including to our engineer.
Okay, thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I have nobody, no.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Ann to close the public hearing, second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We've concluded the public hearing. At this point, we are in a position for a determination of the site plan and subdivision.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, Valerie.
I wanted to ask you guys a question on the November 10th letter that you guys submitted back to us about item number 4. It said that as far as noting the future maintenance and who's responsible, the owner being responsible for that, for the stormwater facilities. And maybe I'm just not understanding it correctly, but I saw that it was noted that it's indicated in the drawing plan and the report, the addendum that was sent. So I see it extremely clear on the drawing.
Yes.
And so then I just didn't see it as clear in the report on
Yeah.
page 18, and I just wonder, maybe I'm just not reading it right. I like highlighted a section that seems like it's sort of getting at it, but maybe I'm missing it, and I just wonder if you could clarify.
Yeah, I think it's at the very, very bottom. So if you look at the, okay, and when I printed it, I'm hoping, I have page 16 here. I'm looking at the very, very bottom.
Oh, 16.
in bold.
Oh, I don't have 16.
Okay,
18 or we got 17 and 18.
okay. Well, then that was the issue. When I was printing, the pages didn't come up right. So I apologize for that. It's actually the bottom of page 16 in
Oh, okay.
bold.
There we go.
That's why you couldn't find it.
Thank you. Does anybody else?
I think we have another issue with the easement.
Well, we have two issues that were, anything we entertain would be conditional on the verbiage of the easement being approved by the town attorney. And secondly, engineering, the conditions on engineering that set forth that Doug had previously mentioned that they are working out. So if we do entertain a motion relative to the subdivision and site plan, it'll be conditional upon attorney approval of the easement and the language therein. And the engineers.
And that it will be filed simultaneously with the subdivision. So I know, and I did read the kind of draft that was out there, and I was advised by the council that we would get the actual easement. And it was a suggestion, because it has to be filed simultaneously with the subdivision, that it be a declaration of easement, that it, do you know what I mean by that? It doesn't have to be signed by the potential owner. It would just be, here's the easement. Yeah.
And then as far as the additional stormwater detention, is that off the table now?
I don't know that it is, but it can be negotiated at a later point if it's going
Yeah,
to.
I think Craig said they were open to it.
Oh, yeah,
As long as there's
very
no
much.
laws. Yeah, right.
Okay, so that is another condition of the agreement.
I'm not sure it's a condition as much as it is. I mean, that we would approve it the way it is. We can't hold them up, but if they can negotiate with the town board, then it can be done.
There's an understanding. that will pursue that.
This is an additional request from the town above and beyond everything that we've received in the SWIP so far. The SWIP so far, based upon what they've got, is appropriate for what they're doing.
Right.
So this is an additional request, so it's kind of hard to make that a mandatory condition.
Okay.
The property is so tight, that I wondered if there's physical room for additional storage or storage facility or anything to control. Is it
It's underground.
it's gonna be underground,
Mhm.
Yeah.
kind of like the resort on wheels.
Right,
up there.
right. Yeah.
But, you know, in talking to Ed, he said, Greg, you just jumped in. I mean, there were years that there's the ability to, with more stormwater runoff capability there. It may not be a large amount or significant, but I think the town board was looking in this drainage basin for any, you know, that could help. So I think, you know, discussion with the applicant was, yeah, sure, it doesn't cost us anything. We're more than willing to help out and work with the town. So I think to Jamie's point, and Joe's, I think, you know, everything looks appropriate, and then the next step would just be to negotiate that, you know, as soon as possible, so we can get started.
Do the subdivision first.
I'm okay. I mean, one vote, one expression. I'm okay with it as long as the drainage district pays whatever costs the town feels they need to incur. It shouldn't come out of the general fund. That's my opinion. And I know it's none of my business, right?
So noted.
I don't know that we have
No, we don't.
control over.
But
No,
he's
but
on,
that's
but he's
an-
on the record. He's on the
I
record.
want to be on the record that that's where it should come from.
That is clearly on the record.
Okay, very good, very good.
The first thing in order would be consider the subdivision. So I would entertain a motion relative to the application for subdivision.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Valerie to approve the subdivision as
Yes.
submitted.
With the
I'll second.
condition,
With the condition, yes.
the condition of the easements being reviewed by council and filed simultaneously with the subdivision.
Second.
And second by Richard. Motion made by Valerie, second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The subdivision is hereby approved. I would entertain at this time a motion relative to site plan approval.
I'll move.
Artie's
Second.
Second.
And with the condition that the subdivision be completed.
absolutely.
Okay. Can't have one without the other.
So we have a motion made and second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Your subdivision has been approved and site plan has been approved, subject only to the conditions we've already laid out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, did you want to say subject to engineering? I didn't hear that.
Well, we put that out there earlier.
Yeah, yes, just
So, so
add that.
easement approval by town council and engineering approval relative to,
I guess the site plan.
Yeah.
Mhm. Correctly on the site plan approval. please.
everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
Next item on our agenda is an application by Kimley Horn. This is for a site plan amendment for the Target, which is located at 340 Town Drive, exit number 87-1-20. There's somebody here on behalf of the applicant.
Hey, this is Ben Diskin with Kimley Horn.
Hello there. This is the first time this is on before the board. So it's my understanding this pertains to a ride-through. And could you explain to us what you're trying to do, how you're trying to do it, and where you're trying to do it?
Right. So actually, to start, this is not a drive-through. It's a drive-up expansion. So basically, the property is located at 1476, or it's located at 340 Town Drive in Fayetteville. The purpose or the proposed action would be converting existing parking spaces into 20 drive up only stalls with signage and beacons and some light fixture additions as well. There is currently drive up on site, but this would expand the existing drive up to include more spaces.
How would the drive up be handled?
So basically how drive up works is the customers pull into a specific parking spot, which is labeled on the sign. They will check into the app on their phone, which notifies the customer service inside the Target building that they're there. It tells them which parking space they're in, and then the employee will bring out the goods or whatever has been ordered to the specific parking space and load it in the vehicle. And that is also why we're proposing a crosswalk with 2 stop bars and stop signs for employees to access the spaces safely. And yeah, this has been a big uptick in these drive up stalls ever since COVID started, and people wanted to be less person-to-person contact whenever possible. So that's part of the motivation for utilizing these spaces is to kind of create that place for any customer to be able to utilize that service.
How many parking spots are you changing into these drive-ups?
So we are currently proposing removing 6 existing spaces for the expansion. From the original drive up, from the original site, we would be removing 10, but as I noted before, there are some drive up spaces already out on the site currently.
When you say 6, I'm confused. It looks like there's 20 or more parking spots that are being changed into this drive-up.
Right. Well, there's still parking spots, so the amount of removed spaces would be 6 versus right. So there's still usable spaces.
Okay, got it. Just out of curiosity, I'll ask another question. Where's your property lines? I don't see it here anywhere. I didn't see it. I might be wrong.
This is all in the core.
No, it's owned by Target is what they're saying. So I'm wondering, what does Target own?
So the property itself, we would only be considering the parking in front of the Target space. We don't have the property lines shown on this plan, so I'm not exactly sure as to the extent of where that would be. Obviously, we could add that to the plans if you'd want to see that as well.
Do you own the parking space or just core?
Excuse me? I didn't hear that.
Do
Sorry.
you own the parking spaces or just core?
I believe Target is the owner of the parking spaces.
It would be good if you could put that on the plan.
Yeah.
Just-
Yep.
They were told it. They were.
That's kind of confusing with all these
Yeah.
projects is that it's one big parking lot out there.
Right.
And what belongs to who?
Right, no, that's why it'd be good to have it, delineated on the map. It doesn't surprise me that they.
Do you have any statistics on the extent of the use currently?
Yeah, we have a document, which I don't think was included in our application package, that describes the increase in volume of the drive up spaces. So initially they were rolled out to all the stores with just 4 spaces, But at a lot of the stores, they were being, backups, given that there were more people trying to use the spaces at specific times. So that kind of necessitated the expansion. But I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but we can definitely get the document to you that has those numbers.
I-
Go ahead, Valerie.
Oh, no, I just had a question. How did you guys determine that row to have this be in? Because I just know that's like where there's a lot more foot traffic. Would it make sense or not to have it be a different row?
Well, right. Well, I guess it could be if that was required. We already have the existing spaces there, the few that I mentioned that were already installed. And so we kind of wanted to keep that same row and if customers have been using those, they would know exactly where to go. Obviously, it would require a bit more effort to move the spaces, but if you think that's necessary, we can propose that to Target.
I was just curious. When you say they're already installed, it's just signage, right?
Yeah, so it's like if you go out there and I was looking at the Google Maps today, there's some signage and striping out there.
Yeah, so, okay.
But this would be more substantive of an expansion is what that's the difference.
Okay, I didn't know if Target, like, if you guys had a certain strategy or algorithm for determining which row of spaces or where they are at other stores, and
Yeah,
if that was
I
how
also
it's going to be initially.
yeah, I think also at this store there's an accessible ramp right in that location that they're trying to utilize.
Okay.
I think we're noting that on our sheet C1, note the note 13. There's an existing ramp there that we were hoping to utilize with our proposed crosswalk. So, because some of the sites we would propose a new ADA ramp that would require additional concrete work. So where we can, we like to keep that in place.
Okay, for the staff.
Yeah, for the transporting the goods across. Exactly.
Are you losing any handicap spots?
No, this doesn't affect any handicap parking.
Now, obviously, we're losing parking spaces. So the question is, by doing the drive-up parking and customer service coming right out, is that going to move the vehicles out of the parking lot in much quicker order so that accommodate the fact that we are using parking?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons that Target thinks this is a good solution, is that it actually reduces the overall parking requirement because of the turnover is quicker. Usually within 10 minutes, vehicles are in and out versus normal store trips are, closer to 20 to 30 minutes, depending. So this definitely helps alleviate some parking concerns in a lot of stores.
I guess, that leads to Valerie's question, which is, that's such a high pedestrian area. Now you have trips every 5 to 10 minutes, in and out, if that's the best spot for it from a pure traffic flow standpoint, as opposed to maybe having it further back in the parking lot.
But you want it close to the building so you can get in and out.
Yes and no. I mean, there's a trade-off.
The employees get the stuff there. I think it makes sense.
If all the other traffic is going out the parking lot right through there, it makes sense for the employees to go out as well. At least the public would be aware that they would be people walking.
Right. And also, with the stop signs, that should help, with any concerns of, drivers and inattentiveness.
Yeah, the actual entrance is further down about 3 rows, right? To the right.
Yeah, the main store entrance. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. When I was first looking at the picture, I was thinking it was more central, so that makes more sense too.
Yeah, and I'm almost positive there's a service door right there, or a lot closer to that crosswalk. I'm looking at street view right now. It seems like there is. So I think that's probably a reason they located them where they did.
Okay.
I think so. That's probably the reason all these cars are parked here.
Yeah.
I think
Right, right,
my,
right.
my concern is just, what does Target own? I'd like to see that depicted on this.
I think it's anybody.
Gotcha.
Is, those drive-up signs, how were they lit?
They're internally illuminated, solar powered. The ones in front of each stall are not illuminated, and then the two beacon signs at the end, at the front and the back of the whole row are internally illuminated with solar.
So this will also provide clearer signage.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the signs are standardized throughout the stores, throughout the country, so it's that would be very clear to anyone who's going.
Right. Which makes sense. I know this was kind of something that came up during the pandemic and now it's being refined, so. it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Pretty quick.
We do.
I have a hard time having an opinion about this because I don't shop like that.
You wasn't.
I don't shop like that. I don't let anybody else pick out my stuff.
It saves you from
Get
buying
used to
extra
it,
stuff.
Brett. It's what's coming.
It's actually not a great business model for us.
Just a point.
I'm pretty sure Home Depot has the same thing.
So.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Well, I can see that.
so that's the same concept.
That makes sense.
So this is an amended site plan from something that was recorded
Previously,
previously
yes,
by Target.
yes.
Well, we'll confirm that.
We'll have to find out. Yeah, just, yeah.
Is it core? Is it core?
So with respect to the paperwork we've received, I think one thing this board is going to have to see is the exact dimensions of Target's parking lot. You can get us a plan on that. That'll assist us in knowing and better understanding the dimensions that we're talking about.
Okay.
I guess I've always been under the opinion that the core had to provide so much parking for so many square feet of retail space in the buildings that they built. And that's what this board probably a long time ago
Well,
passed on.
that's question two, because question one is, what does Target own? How many spaces do they have based on the square footage? Then do they have a reciprocal easement or something with Core that enables them to use additional parking beyond what is on their property? So I think it's a two-step process. I think.
And
And as we always do with all the projects at Core Development, we reach out to Core to let them know that we've received something just out of courtesy. And we're informed that Target does own parking in front of their building, but how much it would be,
Right.
it would be,
I mean, that's
they have it on the drawing.
exactly. And then do they have a reciprocal easement or some document with Core enabling them to use additional parking?
And in concept, Core was fine with what we're going on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's there.
did you hear that statement, sir?
Yeah, so basically we need to show the limits of the Target parking and then any sort of agreement with the Core to show that we can utilize the spaces.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Can you do that by the next hearing?
I'll do my best. Target is sometimes a little slow to respond, but we'll do our best to get some of that information and hopefully get you guys plans as well with all that stuff on it.
Does the board have any further questions?
No.
No. This is a significant enough change that we will warrant a seeker hearing. And I would entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion by Ann to schedule a public hearing.
For the next meeting.
December 13th.
We have enough time.
Okay. Second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
We've scheduled public hearing, December the 13th. And it would be to your benefit if we could get the amended map showing the dimensions of the Target parking lot and any information relative to shared easements.
Yep.
With Core.
Yeah, we'll get right on that so we can present at that meeting.
Okay. Anyone else? December 13th. Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda. It's the application by Robert Caron Homes. This is for final subdivision approval for what is known as Hunter's Ridge and Pauley Drive. This is two tax map numbers, 111-8-17.1 and 111-2-9.5.
Is that plan different than what we have?
No, how is this different? Because we had to give them,
That's the contract drawings from the engineer.
Okay,
This is the subdivision map from the surveyor. From Control Surveyors, that's from Naparel.
we should have had that before the meeting tonight.
well, I think do they need this one? Doug, do they need the Cottrell survey?
The question is, for the submission, the planning
The
board,
question is,
are these
yeah,
drawings different than
25 years
what
ago.
Rob submitted?
Yeah, these are different.
I don't want to stand.
Yeah, then they don't need them, I guess, right? 'Cause we needed to see what the engineer did.
All right, you want to see the overall track.
I'd love to see it, but I don't have time to look at it right now. I would have liked to have it.
If you give me 30 seconds, I'll fill you in.
But it is,
Yeah, this is it. This is the overall. You want it.
So what is it that I'm looking at here?
That's the
that-
third phase. Give me a minute, I'll fill you in.
Okay,
Okay, and that's what we need to be filled in on what the differential is.
That's what I want to do. It's
Previous.
exactly what I'm doing.
That's from 22 years ago.
I don't know. No, this is different. This doesn't have building. Yeah.
So 2/3 is built out. Right. On that. Fill you all in. Does anybody need another?
Yeah. So you need.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else need?
What is the zoning district here?
I believe it's R1.
R1.
It's R1 with sewers, 40,000 square foot. 150 for the frontage on each lot. So this is, my name is Bob DeForest, Cordell Development Corporation. I'm located in Manlius, 206 7th Street is my office. And we are here seeking final approval for section 3 of the Hunter's Ridge subdivision. And this community is located on the back side of the Spruce Ridge subdivision, which is off of Brickyard Falls Road near Broadfield Road. It's a 31 lot residential subdivision, was broken into 3 phases. The preliminary approval for the whole subdivision was granted in September of 1999. And the first phase was 11 lots that's highlighted in the pink on the smaller map that I gave you. That was completed in December of 2008. The second section was in the yellow, completed in August of 2014. Now we're going to try to finalize the last 10 lots, which is the extension of Pauley Drive going north to the village. And so that north property line is at the village of Manlius. So the other map that you have, the other drawings that you have, is the contract drawings from the engineer. Naparel Engineers.
Can I ask a question? So on this one, this is the, I'm just trying to merge the two maps that we have now.
This is section 3.
This is actually a new proposed lot, correct?
Right.
This lot number 5 is labeled here. It's this one.
Now he's got more.
Mhm. Because this is number 6.
The old map has 9
Nine,
lots,
nine
and now the
lots.
new lot. is
Yeah,
has
so this
10.
is a new lot.
Yeah, there's a new lot. Number 5 is a new lot. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
number 5 is a new lot, which is right here. So this road ends right here. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're seeking to extend Poly Drive.
So 5
Going
is
north.
included in the new lots.
5 is included,
That
yes,
would
I'm
be,
sorry.
that would be 10.
Yeah, that makes
Where's
it
number
10.
10?
Okay.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Thank you.
So we're looking to extend Poly Drive going north to the village line.
Yeah, he's
These
including it.
hatches that go across the topo lines indicate it's too steep or it's more than 25%.
Yeah,
This is 5.
Yes, it's 5.
Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
it's what it looks like, yeah.
it'll be on your located here,
Turn this map.
right, it's greater than 15%
Greater than
slope,
15%.
okay?
Yeah, this one's 25.
I'm confused. If you're showing a new lot 5 here, but it's part of the old subdivision, what,
I'm
That
sorry,
map was incorrect.
that, this small map was incorrect. Number
Oh.
5 is part of the new section.
Okay.
Lot 5 is part of the new
The
section.
old
Okay.
line
They
should be
moved
down.
over.
okay,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are seeking 10.
okay. And this line, I'm just trying to understand what I'm looking at.
Sure.
This line that cuts through this lot 5, that has 2 different owners, if I'm reading it properly.
Yeah, that's one, the south part is me, the north part is Calico.
And
Okay.
Bob and I are Calico.
Okay,
And how does that join up? Is this, oh, is it like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
And we can take that off, that doesn't really have anything to do with, right? You don't care.
it does as far as ownership.
Okay, if you want it, you can.
No, I'm just curious, I'm just, somehow that's gotta go away,
No.
whether somebody
Right.
deeds something to somebody to the other, I don't know.
Yes, we agree.
Sharon, which side of the road are you on?
North side.
You on the north side, okay, that's the steep side. On the north side,
This water line, are you done, Arnie?
yeah, for a minute.
The water line easement that goes through, I'm not even sure what lot this is, but 2 on the small map. It almost makes that, as I look at it, close to being unbuildable. Is that an accurate statement? Is that an existing water line?
That's an existing water line.
That's an
Okay, and that easement does
Well-
exist.
That's correct. And you see how they have the building envelope, the big gray shaded area there to the right of that.
Well, it's a footprint. The building envelope would be
So no,
something,
the housing envelope, the dark.
yeah. Yeah, which,
And what the engineer is, he just put, if we have something that we don't have enough room, then we're obviously gonna squeeze it down a little bit. When you put large boxes on there as a building envelope, you don't have to build that large. I think he made those like 60 feet deep, those
Okay.
boxes.
one of the things that we ask when we do a subdivision, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, is that we ask to see building envelopes on each lot,
Okay.
not the footprint of the building, but building envelopes.
These aren't building envelopes.
Those are not. Those are footprint. They're,
Well, you have standard setback lines on each side of the lot. You have a building line in the front of
and
the
that's
lot.
what, that's what we'd like to see,
Okay.
so that it's
Oh, what's
25
what are the
foot,
sideline
50 foot,
setbacks?
whatever it
It
is.
says, I think, you mean the building line? Is that what 40 feet BL is?
It's the building envelope. So it's whatever the setbacks are. We don't necessarily want to approve where the building's gonna go because we have no control over that.
Mhm.
And Doug, do we have a 25-foot buffer from easements? I'm trying to remember. So that building envelope, the building envelope they have here,
The building
Why would
envelope.
there be I mean, it just seems kind of crazy to have an easement that is a 20-foot easement that gives just sufficient area to work. And then on each side of that easement, you're gonna add another 25 feet.
Yeah, that's what they call for Bob. So what we got in the past, like Rich said, is if you put your building envelopes on here, we've negotiated these in the past.
Yeah.
So, the planning board wants to see those on there. And to your point, if it's a shallow, let's say it's a sewer with a 25-foot cut, then we're definitely gonna want a 25-foot easement on that. If it's just a swale, then the board has used judgment in the past and has negotiated.
And in this situation, you have 5 foot in the ground water. So,
So we probably, I don't know, I can't speak.
you know what I mean? So if you have a water line that's 5 foot in the ground, you obviously don't need, you know, to have.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying we deal with what the laws are. And that's what the law is. There's a buffer of 25 feet from
What's the
these.
law? That's a law?
It's part of our
It's in
code.
this code. In the section. What do you call it? Yeah, town standards or something like that.
25 feet from an easement.
It differs from different types of easements.
Right. Right.
But they address steep slopes, they address, water bodies.
Drainage easements.
Drainage easements, and then just, easements. I think it's building standards. I think it's a code about building standards.
Town of Manlius buildings.
Yes.
So specifically talking about this easement.
Yes.
We have to basically we have to determine what's there to make sense of what.
So where I would start is just like Rich is saying, right? Take a look at what you got here, look at what all your setbacks are, put your building envelopes on here, and then you can determine where all your setbacks are. Right, I think that was in the memo that I sent to the board, and you folks have a copy of. Then we can see where there may or may not be conflicts. Without going through that exercise. We can't really see that.
So I understand this. If we determine how deep in the ground that water main is in the ground, and we kind of figure out what makes logical sense, right, on how much room is maybe needed.
Then you would propose something. and the
Okay.
board would take it.
So if I went to Aqua, we found out from Aqua what's there and how deep it is, we could then come back and say, you know, this situation has sufficient amount of room with the 25 or maybe 5 feet each way to make it 30 feet, right, per se. Is that what we're saying, Doug?
So if I can clarify, so just if you can go, when you get a chance, 127-17.
Oh, you pulled it up, I was just.
Yeah, oh, I see. So design standards for blocks, and it talks about, you know, just whatever they've been talking about,
Easements.
slopes and how much from easements and so forth. And then the end of it says the planning board can in its discretion waive or make, other requirements. So that's why they're saying, come in with these things that jump out, and then it can be determined.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what I need to get from information for you, so you can determine that, that they don't need this.
So probably what's gonna happen is our engineer is gonna give us advice on that. So get him what you think is gonna work, and then he'll let you know if it does or doesn't, and then he'll advise the board. Because it's more of an engineering question.
I think to Rich's point, I think when you put the building envelopes on here, right, it helps.
Building envelope is space that you can build on. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so
From
what Rich
the
is saying,
front
right?
building line to the backyard setback to the side yard setback. Is that what
Yeah,
we're talking about?
Exactly.
So you just take whatever zone this is, in,
Right.
that we determine it's R1. Just from memory, Lisa and I are saying that I believe it's 40 front yard,
Yeah.
40 backyard.
Yeah.
40 20.
Whatever. My concern has always been that if we approve a subdivision like this, that we're making some type of representation that the house can be built there.
Sure.
Excuse me. That's not what we want to do. We just want to say, look, here's
It's a
the building
buildable
envelope.
lot.
You figure out where to put the house.
Okay, now let's go back to the loan switch.
I own the southern part, so
But
the
the
line
southern
that says Cordell Development,
Yeah.
going through here. I own Calico Development, these folks own the northern part.
So,
I am the developer of the other sections of the community,
okay,
all right?
so you own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots?
Right, and they own 6, I own 5. That's our,
Okay.
I own 4, I'm sorry, 6-4.
And so I don't know if you're aware of Holly Drive, there's 2 sides up in this community, one side is a village. Okay,
The north side is the village.
okay, the north side is Poly Drive that runs all the way up and just ends. And then if you walk through the woods or the trail and walk to the other side, Poly Drive starts again.
I was up there today. I spent about an hour. It's a beautiful spot and it's absolutely gorgeous. There's a couple of things that struck me. There's one evergreen tree, 12.6 acres. How the hell did you manage that? Everything else is those crappy maples or whatever. I've never seen anything like that. I've lived here for 60 years. Well, okay, that's one question. Just the other thing is that the east side, the side of the big slope, it's got some serious problems. You've got a giant piece of land, but very little of it's usable. Because it goes down very quickly. So that either says you're gonna have a split level house or you're gonna have an awful lot of problems with running water. Not drinking water, but stormwater. The other question is, do you really intend to put those houses exactly of the same setback each one?
Well, the other.
That goes to the
part-
building envelope.
Yeah.
If you go to the other houses in the community, they're all about 50 feet off the road, 60 feet off the road. You know, but every house is different, and when you meet with a client, those are expensive houses, right? And, you know, they put it where they want to put it, and it depends on the cost, is how much driveway, how much sewer, how much electric, how much gas, you know, how much do they want to spend? All that goes into the budget.
You know, end load driveways as opposed to a front load driveway.
What's your target price for those houses?
Really expensive.
Right now, it's
As
just
much
a
as we
moving
can get.
target. Everything's
Yeah.
going up. It's
Well, everything in the
Who
neighborhood
knows?
already. I happen to live at the bottom of the slope where all the water runs right now.
Okay.
And I own 2 lots at the bottom of the slope where everything ran. I don't know if you've been over on
You're in the village?
Blarney Stone.
Blarney Stone.
No.
Oh, I'm on Blarney Stone.
Blarney Stone.
I live on lot 30
You're on
on that
Blarney
one
Stone?
map.
I'm on Blarney Stone.
Oh, I know.
I'm in the back circle of Blarney Stone where all the water runs down. Every time it rains really hard, I call Lisa up and yell at her.
So what do those houses go for? Well, when I built most of them, they were all in the mid-5s. Now they'll be, I really don't know. I mean, things are so dynamic right now with lumber and the cost of things, it's hard to say.
People are spending a lot of money for houses. I'm sure you've noticed that in the paper. So I don't know, you can't build houses on lots like this for less than 500,000 or 600,000.
Yeah. There'll be at least 5.
Yeah, it's easy spot.
Just development costs alone. I gotta take that.
My question that I'm trying to determine is the new plan substantially the same as the old from 21 years ago?
It's exactly. It's not changed.
It has not changed. Okay.
Exact, same amount of lots, same lot lines that were all proposed back then.
Well, they look similar, and I just couldn't tell if there was any differential.
There's no change.
There's no change at all.
The
Kind of
engineer,
begs the question that the buildable lot law has come into being since that time. Is it applicable to this project or is it?
It is.
They're all water and sewer.
All water.
It would be applicable.
Then I guess just a question, if it's the same that was approved 15, 20, 25 years ago, why are we here?
Because it has to come in for final approval,
Final.
always. It's
It
the
never got
final
final.
Yeah.
that section.
Not on that phase.
Not on that phase.
Okay.
But the reason I asked that question was to try to make a determination as to whether we are mandated to have a public hearing or not. And in light of the fact that it is in fact not only substantially the same, it is identical to the previous, that would warrant no need for public hearing.
Provided the new issues that we're dealing with on the slopes and so forth are met.
Our draft.
But
Yeah.
if it was never approved, don't we need a public hearing?
No, because the law is that they had a preliminary approved.
Okay,
The final section can be approved if it's substantially the same without
Okay.
further public
If you
hearing
lived
or
in-
seeker or anything.
proves I'm not an attorney.
So when Bob's father did this, you know, the beginning of all this, there's been no changes to this. It was all done. The property was owned by us, the property was owned by them, and we put this all together. We just haven't gotten to doing the last section of this development yet. They did section 1. They come, so the approval on all 3 sections were done.
Yep.
As one, he went in and he got final approval on section 1, and he built it out.
Yep.
And then he went, got final approval on section 2 and built it out. And then we just let it be tabled because we had other things we did.
Yep.
Not to go there. So,
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Like to Arnie's point, he just said, if you lived on Polly Drive, wouldn't you maybe want a public hearing? To the residents that live around there that moved in since 2008, that maybe bought resale, that didn't know there was this last phase. Is that something that we would do a public?
Yeah, we ran into that.
Since it's
once
been
before.
so long, that's, I don't know, I have no
No,
idea.
It's not a legal question, it's a
It's
question
a
of
question for
neighbors.
Yeah,
I would think that you would actually want to have a public hearing because you've got a good case to make.
I'm sorry, we would want to have a public hearing.
Sure.
For
Absolutely.
what? Why?
Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, the last thing in the world you want is a whole bunch of your happy neighbors right now becoming unhappy because of all the noise and the construction.
And it
And
goes with every neighborhood.
Okay.
That's all that's, when we roll out of bed in the morning, we go to work.
it also will
You
change
have-
the traffic pattern, because there's gonna be a drive-through now as opposed to dead end.
Well, when they named Polly Drive on the bottom, and Polly Drive on the other side, and the reason they did that is this was all gonna happen. And they wouldn't have let to name 2 streets Polly Drive without finishing it with, you know, with a
I just
street.
don't know if an average resident would.
This
Take
is a
note of that.
benefit to the town and the village. More than
Everybody
anything,
wants
This is finishing up the road, which ends at both sides.
No, I can see that, it improves walkability, everything, but again, they're just as a courtesy to neighbors.
Well, I know what the neighbors are
For
gonna say.
communication.
Well, we had an experience not too long ago with the subdivision
Yeah.
that was modified, and we believed it wasn't substantial. So we did not have a public hearing. We approved it. They began construction, and we caught holy hell from the neighbors because they had no clue it was being built out. And since this was years ago, I tend to agree that we should have a public hearing. Not that we're gonna say, don't build it because the neighbors don't want it, but, you know, this is what was proposed. We're just simply moving forward with it. It's been 20 years or whatever it's been, just to inform more than anything.
A lot of times, so people like the vacant land.
You said.
Well, they use it. We got trails up there. We put our garbage up there.
I've been developing land for 35 years. I've never been to a public hearing where people are happy about a new track.
I don't disagree, but that doesn't mean that will change the decision of the board. It's just, I think we have an obligation to inform the neighbors because this is so old. If this was something that was proposed 2 years ago,
Yeah.
When was
That's what I'm thinking, it's been so long. You don't,
In other words,
these people necessarily didn't
I
build
think
these
part of the
houses.
question
even
is,
though they should reset.
when was the last construction? The 14th. So it's going on 8, Rich.
Pardon?
There's been no construction in there in 8 years.
That's not long.
Oh, I'm just trying to define the time period, okay? All right,
It's
so
not
this is
been
2.
20, it's only been 8.
Yeah, well,
Finished
that's
the
what
last house
Right.
that he built.
The last house I finished then was 2015. Right, the Poly Drive to the north was, you know, that's been there for years. Whereas this is just gonna connect to the old Poly Drive village. It's not.
Yeah, but that top of Polly, you have the top of it's off of Everglades, you take that Everglades
Yeah,
all the way
yeah,
up to the top, those are fairly new, those ones on the right.
Yeah, there's some newer houses.
Those were probably in the
Top.
late 90s, maybe.
Yeah, that was
Everglades.
Tom Wood's track right there.
Yeah, there's still
I
lots,
lived
there's still lots that aren't built on up there.
I lived on Heritage Circle across the street from Everglades back in the 90s. when I was just a young kid.
As far as the good thing about when you talk about this, where this all dumps down into, that's the actual gun club. I want to say it's about 80 acres or 90 acres is the gun club that this dumps down into. I built the 3 houses at the bottom in the cul-de-sac on Blarney Stone, and I live in one of them. And there's still, Jack Tobin has one lot still down there that's really tough to build on because it comes up so much. And then there's one other available lot there that we have below our house. But that top up there that you see dumps down just goes right at the gun club property, which is like 90 acres.
Are there any retainage or detention basins anywhere up here?
So when the development was done, all the retainage is done in the older section. It was all sized to accommodate this section.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all engineered to take care of all that.
The detention basin is located in the first phase right here. With the 2 phases, the yellow and the red, that's where the detention basin is. It's a dry basin.
And that's located on some lots?
It's where the yellow and the pink come together. Rich.
Yellow and pink comes together. Yeah.
I don't think that you're gonna have a hard time with your cranky neighbors. I think you'll have a much harder time if we approve this, you start construction, and somebody says, why weren't we informed? So even though it's legal, I think politically, it makes a lot more sense. Go through with it. It's part of what town government is supposed to be about. People have a vested interest. They do show up, and sometimes they don't. But at least we give them the notice. All the neighbors are aware of it. They get their own mail. It's coming. There's a hearing gonna be, you know how it works.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem. You just asked me if you thought I wanted to have it. I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
I stand corrected.
That's all. I was just trying to be honest.
Point raised by
I've
Valerie.
never been to a good public hearing.
Yeah, well, we're a part of
Passage of time, makes sense.
Yeah.
So did I hear one of you making a motion
I'll make a motion
for public
for
hearing?
public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
When are we doing this?
How are we?
Christmas Day. Were you heard this kid? Were you Sure. Oh, here. You'll be here long enough. And the tour will be long, yes.
Okay.
How is it just business? Now it's just business.
And we have a
Public
target
hearings
public
can
hearing.
go really easy or really hard.
And we understand. Although I did not hear everybody respond relative to that motion, I heard only ayes and I did not see any nays.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The motion carries. We are going to schedule a public hearing. We are going to schedule it for December the 13th. And we are certainly hoping that prior to December 13th, we will be provided with amended maps setting forth proper building envelopes on this. Thank you for approaching that. I thought that was a building envelope. So thank you, Richard. And we'll go forward and we'll wrap that up then. That does make sense, their point of the passage of time.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
So we're on for December the 13th, and hopefully we'll get amended maps prior to that.
And then you'll see how well Bob and I are perceived in the community. I'm predicting that's gonna be good. Like, I'm not.
That's not an issue. I have some other business. If you're ready to go.
I was, well, we finished this business, and I was gonna ask you about something else, but go ahead.
Ask them.
I was gonna make inquiry of how we are doing relative to Bowman Road.
Interesting. Doug gave me a map that showed all of the vents.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All the vents and the wells. And the potential Ring Road,
I just
so
wanted
that
to
we
see
can
that.
monitor. Well, which I didn't believe they took into consideration because they had the whole thing covered with photographs. So I sent that off to Lisa on Monday. I said, is there time on Wednesday that we can talk? Didn't hear anything back. I called her on Wednesday and I said, Melissa, I sent you a plan. Hopefully you got it. If you didn't, let me know. Is there time we can talk? Nothing. I called her again today, left
Maybe
her a
she didn't have her
message.
phone with her.
Pardon?
Maybe she didn't have her phone with her.
I called her again today, left a message. So I have not heard a single word back. So I'll ask you and Joe, because you probably heard before any of us. Have we heard anything from them?
Sorry, what would, I had background noise. I couldn't hear
This
what we were
is,
talking.
this is the lease on the town dump.
Oh,
And so, I mean, I've got a lot of questions, a lot of things that need to be done, but if we don't hear, I don't know why they haven't been,
She's probably gonna deal with somebody else in Canada.
well, it could be, but the bottom line is the lease does not have a legal description for the lease premises. Therefore, in my opinion, it should not come back on to our agenda until we know what the lease premises is, so we could look at the site plan to figure out if it makes sense or not. I mean, I don't know how you look at a site plan if you don't know what they're leasing.
I concur with what you were saying. This should not be back before this board until we are provided with that information and until they attempt to reach a resolution with you, a proposal resolution for this board to approve relative to those issues.
Pardon?
You tried to call that lady from Canada.
I sent her an email on Monday last week. I called her Wednesday. I called her again today.
She's got to get back to you.
I've heard nothing. And the legal description that we have, not only for the lease premises, but also the easement area, was drafted by them. We have no authority. I mean, it's unilateral. Here's what it is. It's the town board that has to approve it, not us. So
But we have to at least know what it is.
we have to know what it is before we can look at the site plan and figure out if it's within the site, the lease premises.
They have not requested to come back on yet.
No.
So.
No.
I have not heard.
maybe
Are
we'll-
they gonna look like the same, just sitting there on top of the bed?
Yeah.
The other thing I'm a little concerned about is we heard from them relative to this being a type 1 proceeding and not a type 2.
No, that it's a type 2, not a type 1.
Sorry, the other way around.
Yeah,
But did they give us a proper citation for that we documented?
I did not look at that, yeah.
Because the last crew that came through, we declared it a type
It
1.
it had to do with the fact of it being on the
The
town,
landfill.
on a landfill. It was a different,
It's a different
This is
situation.
much different.
That's the difference.
yes.
Okay.
So I will continue to reach out. See what happens.
Is there something else you wanted to bring up?
No, that was it. That was it. I just wanted to inform what I've been doing.
Chief
I'll
Rouse,
second Fred's motion.
Yeah. I was going to say, this might be my last time to do this. I'll talk to you about that, but I've got a bunch of stuff going on that I've got to probably think about leaving the board. It's been wonderful working with you guys.
Yeah, you're just gonna leave or is your
I
time up?
would have brought cake.
No, let's drink something alcohol.
It's been 15 years, Fred. You can't leave.
It was longer than that. But,
Well, that I've been on with
yeah.
you.
No, I've got, well, the whole story basically is that my daughter has agreed to help take care of my wife, which is going to be more and more needed. She has a facility but it's 500 miles from here. So, and this isn't our family home anyway, we don't have anybody else here in this part of the world, except all the good friends that we have. So I don't know when and I don't really have to end my participation on the board, particularly because I've got another year on my term. You told me
Yes,
last time.
you
that's the reason I
do.
was
Yes.
asking.
Yes.
So I don't know whether it'd be less disruptive to stay on for a little while. I'm gonna be gone in December, as I emailed you,
Mhm.
because of this other party. Too much little real estate to deal with.
Stan,
But I am gonna have to be leaving the board, because I think we're gonna probably be leaving New York.
Will you let us know at the appropriate time when it's best for you?
Okay, well, I guess I really had it in my mind that I would just, it might be cleaner just to end it at the end of this year. And then the new, whoever takes my place would have a full year of being on board. So I was gonna tell you that privately after the meeting.
So much for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, are we adjourned?
Well, I seconded your motion.
We have a motion made and second.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yes,
about These subpoenas.
yes.
Can we adjourn the meeting?
Let's adjourn first.
Let's adjourn. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any